I never thought one morning, something so ordinary, a cup of coffee on my porch, would shift my life in a way I can't forget. There are moments you replay in your mind over and over, wondering if you could have stopped it, or if you even wanted to. This is one of those moments. The air was still that morning, thick with the kind of quiet that makes you notice every sound, every breath, every heartbeat. I wrapped my robe tighter around me, coffee cradled in both hands, the steam curling upward into the cool dawn. The sun had just begun to stretch itself across the sky, spilling a soft gold over the yard. For a brief moment, it felt like I was the only person awake in the world. Then came the sound. The doorbell. It wasn't loud, not sharp, but in that silence it felt like a wave crashing through still water. My eyes opened, breath catching, heart skipping in a way that didn't make sense. I turned toward the house, robe brushing against my legs as the breeze teased it aside. When I opened the door, I saw him, Ethan. He was already halfway down the steps, like he hadn't meant to be caught. His delivery uniform looked too stiff on him, like it belonged to someone else. Rumpled, almost boyish. He held a box in his hands as though it explained everything, though it didn't. His eyes flicked up to mine, then quickly downward, like he was afraid of being caught looking too long. "Is that for me?" I asked, tilting my chin toward the package. He hesitated before stepping closer, his voice low. "It's urgent." I reached for it, fingers brushing against his longer than necessary. That tiny touch, soft, deliberate, was enough to spark something between us, something neither of us spoke of but both of us felt. He didn't step back. He just stood there, unreadable, as though waiting for me to decide what would happen next. The door behind me was still open. I saw him notice, his eyes flicking toward the darkened hallway behind me before returning to my face. "You look like that delivery surprised you," I said softly, half a smile teasing my lips. Without waiting for an answer, I turned and walked back inside, the coffee still warm in my hand, the box under my arm. I didn't close the door. That choice was deliberate. I left it open, waiting. The wooden floor creaked beneath my feet, the sound familiar, grounding. And then it came. The faintest sound of the door easing shut behind him. Not rushed. Not hesitant. A quiet click, final. I set the package down on the hallway table and turned just enough to see him standing there. He looked unsure, like he had stumbled into something he shouldn't, but couldn't step back from. His hand lingered on the doorframe a moment too long before slowly falling to his side. "You can just rest it there," I said, my voice low, pretending not to notice how close he was now, how he wasn't moving to leave. He nodded, careful. His steps were small, deliberate, as though he was afraid the floor itself might betray him. When he stopped in front of me, his fingers twitched at his side, caught in a war between action and restraint. So I moved first. I reached for his hand, our palms meeting warm. His breath caught, chest rising sharply as though he hadn't been breathing until that moment. I turned my palm beneath his, whispering, "It's okay. You don't need to be nervous." His fingers curled lightly around mine. Not gripping, not pulling, just holding. Testing. The silence between us thickened, pulling us closer, demanding every ounce of attention. My eyes lifted to his again. His gaze flickered, still uncertain, still searching. And in that silence, something in him settled. He stepped closer. Not rushing. Just near enough that I could feel the heat of him, his shoulder brushing the air beside mine. His lips parted like he wanted to speak, but no words came out. The robe around me shifted slightly, the fabric slipping against my skin as a hallway breeze nudged it off one shoulder. His eyes caught the movement, hesitant, reverent, before darting away again. I gave the smallest nod. A signal. Permission. His hand rose, brushing the length of my arm in a slow, delicate line, as if he were afraid I might shatter beneath his touch. I inhaled sharply, holding the breath, releasing it with care. His hand stilled at my side, solid, present. "You're here now," I whispered. He nodded. His eyes never left mine. I placed his hand where it felt right, letting mine rest gently over his. Then I leaned in, closing the space between us. Our lips met, unhurried, soft, like two people who had waited too long and knew better than to rush. There was the faintest trace of coffee between us. A taste of warmth, morning, temptation. His hands slid lightly along my sides, holding without pressing. When we pulled apart, I felt it, the shift. The invisible line we had just crossed, changing everything in ways we could never take back. I took a slow step back, bracing myself against the hallway table. The wood dug faintly into my palms, grounding me against the swirl of emotions flooding through. Ethan followed, slower this time, steadier. His hands traced the length of my arms as though memorizing the path. The fabric of my robe whispered as it moved beneath his touch. He leaned down again, his lips brushing mine in another kiss, softer than the first. My hand found its way to his back, fingers curling into the fabric of his shirt. No words. No plans. Just presence. I wrapped my arms around his neck, pulling him closer. He leaned into me, quiet, solid, like an anchor in the storm that had become my thoughts. The hallway table shifted beneath me as I pressed against it, the faintest sound filling the silence. And still, we didn't rush. It wasn't about haste. It wasn't about escape. It was about this moment, this breath, this choice, this impossibly fragile thread pulling us together. I stayed still, holding him, letting him hold me. I didn't want to let go. And neither did he.